Variety is the spice of life, and the meat and potatoes for the adventuring sage. On a distant world named Midgard, there lives a kind of insect that I think surely must have come from one of the lawfully aligned outer planes of existence and been transported to other dimensions just because of its usefulness. This insect is called the Suturefly. It has many other titles. Stitchbug, Tyrant Fly, and Deathweaver are among them. The Suturefly at rest, perched on some plant, is quite good at blending in. Their long body is mostly a drab green colour, with their wings folded back, something that dragonflies don't generally do, as that's what the Suturefly most resembles. Comparisons are handy. They do look like larger dragonflies, except they have 3 pairs of wings, which have a brighter orange colour that is on display when the wings are in use, with the transparent stripe just before the tip of each wing. While 6 inches or 15 centimetres doesn't sound big, it's certainly large for a flying insect coming right at your face at high speed. Believe me. Some rumours persist about giant specimens found in deep ancient woodlands like the old Margrave forest with 10-foot wingspans, but those are most likely not naturally that size and serve as battle mounts for some of the more dangerous fey folk. I'm not about to venture into the deep Margrave to find out myself. Not unless I'm invited. I intend to make it into the deep forest at some point. Those Fae are just one thing I care to learn more about and pass those details on to you, of course. The local people of Midgard, are a very diverse lot. One group I was expecting and eager to meet were the halflings, and sure enough, it was during one of their rare legal trials that I happened to wander into their community centre, which was also a general goods store of some size that remained open for business while all the local halflings decided the fate of some halfling farmer who had stolen a bunch of sheep, which would not have been a big deal, but people got hurt bringing the matter to justice, and he was on trial for assaulting the local wardens, a much more serious offence as those wardens were the much-loved sons of the local hero, and it so happens the local magistrate. Despite the conflict of interest, it was a fair trial, and it turns out the wardens did go to the sheep rustler and threaten his family. I was shocked to hear the young warden admitting this. I mean, there's honesty, and then there's admitting behaviour that might get him removed from the local wardens. Curious, I got in among the crowd and got a better look at what was going on, and that was when I saw and heard the hovering sutureflies. Each of them was flying just above a little decorated wooden coffer that they'd been released from. I couldn't see any physical thing keeping them hovering there, so perhaps they were enchanted and under someone's control, or very well trained. Fascinated, and having never seen them before, I nudged a local next to me and asked him what they were and why they were there, as they looked pretty but kind of dangerous. "Oh yeah," he assured, "they are very dangerous. The suturefly can kill you, sure enough." I couldn't believe the outcome of this trial could mean death though, and he was right. The local shook his head. No. he might get banished, but it's likely he's just going to do some community service like road work or mending the stone fences around the paddocks. The sutureflies were there to ensure that everyone told the truth as they attack anyone who tells a lie near them. This was stunning news. Were the insects intelligent? No, not really. They say they have the same behaviour as dragonflies. They don't really reproduce around water. They are forest canopy insects who weave nests from living leaves to protect their eggs. They eat large figs that have a caustic juice, but are not acid spitters or anything. They don't have mouthparts suitable for biting and have no harmful poison stinger. They're not coated in actual poison. They are just very fast, accurate, and have turned their leaf weaving into a deadly weapon. Outside of agriculture, that was about all the local knew about sutureflies. He said that he just said the flies were, they knew when someone was telling a spoken lie, and those ones on trial were of the particular breed maintained by the wardens. There were other types of sutureflies, and they detected other spoken misdeeds, such as anyone attacking anyone for blasphemy. "How do they attack?" I asked. I needn't have bothered. At that moment, the sutureflies surrounding the sheep rustler buzzed and charged at him all at once, flying around and pestering him severely. They were attacking his head, which was twisting and jerking around. His screams became horribly muffled, and he collapsed onto the ground, thrashing his legs and clawing at his face with his fingers. The 2 bailiffs hauled him up onto a rope-cutting bench and carefully sliced into his face with their daggers, wadding clean cloth over his profusely bleeding head. "That's how," said the local, in the dry wit of the hobbits. "Oh, suturefly. They literally stitched his mouth closed and his eyes and his nose." That still didn't answer how they could detect a spoken lie. Stitching behavior has a simple biological explanation. It's clear that the weaving prowess of this insect is how they choose their breeding partners, and much like a peacock's tail, has resulted in a very extreme ability to weave objects together using nothing more than piercing the flesh repeatedly and threading a loop of the target's own skin, or leaf, through the previous hole. Contact with the insect causes the skin loops to blacken, shrinken, and draw the stitch closed tightly. It requires a careful attention to cut open these suture stitches and is intensely painful for the victim, who may or may not be able to breathe while this is being done, so sometimes it's necessary to stab a breathing hole in their wingpipe to save their life. But how do they detect lies or other verbal offences? Turns out there's no complex biological reason for that. They are essentially granted this power by the gods, which is not that uncommon on Midgard. The gods play quite an active role there, including having children with mortals and often physically manifesting among them. Midgard is not a planet, it's a gigantic disk of land floating on a sea of living stars. The land has powerful ley lines and the locals use them for a lot of their magic, and all of them seem to know that they live on a flat surface with mountains and all that stuff. But they're fine with the fact that their world has an actual edge, and no, they have no idea what's on the underside of their world. Such environments are not that weird. The old ones seem to have had a phase where they made a lot of disc worlds for some reason. Who knows? The old ones are mysterious, very mysterious. Beware the mystery. That's how they hook you into a descent into obsession and madness. Midgard has humans, dwarves, elves, kobolds, minotaurs, and gearforged, plus centaurs, gnolls, gnomes, goblins, tieflings, and hobbits, of course. There's also a dragon empire and a rich history. The Midgard world setting was written for the Pathfinder rule set and was created by Wolfgang Bauer, a prodigious writer in the RPG industry. He published it originally in 2012, and you can pick up a PDF copy for $20 on DriveThruRPG. All of the Tome of Beasts books and the Creature Codex are written for Pathfinder, but now have been fully converted to 5th edition D&D versions, with notes on how they fit into the Midgard setting. You can pop them into your game settings as you see fit. There are hundreds of monsters, creatures, and such to cover. So if you're interested in more monster ecologies and lore explanations and explorations, expansions for Kobold Press books, let me know in the comments below the video. If you happen to frequent the D&D Beyond website, you can purchase access to Tome of Beasts Volume 1. It says, and I quote, "Numerous suturefly varieties exist. Some attack based on verbal triggers other than lies. Black-banded sutureflies, for instance, detect curses and religious blasphemies. When attacking, sutureflies dart from hiding to surprise opponents. Once they sew someone's mouth closed, they target the same victim's nose, and unless threatened by another opponent, they'll finish with the eyes. Sutureflies attack until they've sewn all of their opponent's eyes, mouths and noses closed, or until they're destroyed." And I see here that they also are known to sew the eyes of dryads shut to protect them from the evils of civilization. What twisted being enchanted an entire species and numerous subspecies to use their weaving ability with such ferocity? I am thinking, it's a Fey Lord of some kind, not Baba Yaga, but probably someone or something just as formidable. The Tome of Beasts lists the suturefly as a tiny beast without evil intent. I think they would work just as well as a swarm for higher level player characters. I'd give them a bit more agility, as they would be able to occupy the same space as another creature. Sutureflies have an armor class of 12, 10 hit points, a flight speed of 40 feet per round. They can make one sew action each round, plus 4 to hit, with target adjacent to them. Hit does 4 damage, piercing damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 12 dexterity saving throw, or the suturefly sews the target's mouth, nose, or one of its eyes closed, the suturefly's choice. With supernatural speed, the suturefly repeatedly pierces the target's face, each time threading a loop of the target's own skin through the previous hole. These skin loops rapidly blacken, shrink, and draw the orifice tightly closed. If a target's mouth is sewn shut, it can't speak. If its mouth and nose are sewn shut, it can't breathe. And if both eyes are sewn shut, it's blinded. The creature, including the target, can take an action to cut open one of the sewn orifices by succeeding on a DC 12's dexterity check with an edged weapon or tool. They have plus 4 to stealth checks and make them with advantage while in forest terrain. They will rest high up on a tree trunk just below the leaf canopy and watch you, waiting and listening. So, careful with the idle banter while walking through deep forests. You never know who or what is listening. My name is AJ Pickett. Thanks for listening, and as always, I'll be back with more for you very soon.